I'm just going to say it. I don't like to cook. Not a little, not sometimes. Like I actively avoid it. And for a long time, I thought that made me kind of a failure. Like I was supposed to enjoy the planning, the grocery shopping, the cleaning, well, cooking first, then the cleaning, all of it. But I didn't. And what if you don't? What if you still want to eat well without spending your life in the kitchen? That's what we're talking about today.
Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work?
Welcome to the Coach's Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction. It's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in.
I know for me, there was definitely some guilt around liking to cook. Like I should enjoy it more. Now, I did cook when the boys were at home, before they left to live their own lives. But we pretty much had the same thing every week because it was easy. I knew how to do it. It was quick and it worked with my working life. But even once I stopped my corporate job, I still didn't like cooking. I've tried. I still don't like it. What do you guys think?
I think a lot of people feel that way, even if they don't say it out loud, because I think there's this like expectation, especially for women. Like you're really lucky if your husband cooks like you, Amber. Your husband's a chef, so that's really, really lucky. But, it just seems like it's one of those roles that we have to take on, and that because we're doing it, we have to enjoy it, or I don't know. And if you don't enjoy cooking, like I work with a lot of people that are retired and they're like, it's just me. It's not fun to cook for one person, but they feel like maybe they're doing something wrong or they're not measuring up somehow, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that the truth is that I'm also one who does not enjoy cooking. And I didn't intentionally go looking to marry a chef. And truthfully, when we got together, people were like, "Oh my gosh, he must cook amazing meals for you." And I was like, no, he cooks amazing meals for everybody else. When he comes home, he's tired of cooking.
There's something there, yeah.
And so if you do it for a living, you may not want to also do it at home. But what I want everybody to hear is that it's okay to not enjoy cooking. It doesn't say anything about your worth. It doesn't say anything about how much you care about your family or really how together you are. Because sometimes I think it just means that our energy is spent better somewhere else. And I also think that, and I will be honest, I thought this too when I first heard clean, whole, unprocessed meals. I was like, oh, that is a lot of cooking. I don't know that Tom is going to want to do that. And I definitely know that I don't want to do it. And so what I love about this episode is we're going to go into how it isn't 5 to 6 gourmet meals a day of protein, fats, and carbs.
Right. Yeah. And that's another piece. We've made food way more complicated than it needs to be. My daughter-in-law loves to cook. She has her own meal prep business, which we'll talk about later, which helps me out actually. But, not everybody loves to cook. And I can tell you, I've lost some of the little skills that I had from not cooking. I mean, luckily my husband is awesome. He's very understanding. He's like, and we eat totally different. So you don't have to cook for me. I can cook my own stuff. So I'm like, cool. I mean, I grabbed on that like crazy and have it cooked in. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't cook at all. I may cook a meal a week or something like that. Or if I have something that's bigger, I'll tell my husband, hey, there's some here if you want it. It's totally up to you. But for me, It's definitely about keeping food simple. I would rather do 900 other things than prepare my shopping list, get it ready, chop it up, cook it. And then there's all the cleanup because when you don't do it very often, I have 900 bowls out and all these spoons, it's like a mess. So anyway, so the whole thing is we make food way more complicated. So how can we simplify that a little bit?
At the end of the day, I think realizing that your body doesn't need fancy gourmet meals. Are they delicious? Sure. Are they practical? No. What is important is that it's balanced. It has proteins, fats, and carbohydrates in a balance that's really fueling your body. And so, again, even though Tom is a trained chef, he's not currently in the kitchen. He's a mailman, and we have very simple dinners. We will have chicken and brown rice or quinoa and veggies. We will have, on the weekend, eggs and toast with some fruit, yogurts with nuts and berries. And so we really do keep it very simple because we do have so many other things going on in our life, and are there opportunities on date night when we cook together and we make a gourmet-ish meal? Absolutely. And it's amazing.
Mhm.
But that pressure for that to be our daily isn't there. And I find that that's freeing. We've talked
Yes.
about food noise and the cognitive load around constantly thinking about food. And, when you're learning something new, you are thinking about food a little bit more, but you don't want to use all of your bandwidth for deciding how everything your next meal, when you eat every 3 to 4 hours, is going to be perfect.
Right.
I think that's a really good point because I mean, that's the like pushback that I get when I start working with a
Right.
new client. They're like, eating every 3 to 4 hours, that's impossible. I'm always going to be cooking, cleaning, eating, cleaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was actually that way. When I first started, I thought that every single time I ate, it had to be something new and something fresh. And I just, a week in, I'm like, I am overwhelmed. I am exhausted, and this isn't sustainable for me. So, as soon as I learned that it doesn't have to be a gourmet, freshly cooked meal every 3 to 4 hours, that it's just food every 3 to 4 hours,
Get that pressure off.
it really did. And then I'm like, oh, now I can stick with this, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think just the idea of, I think we have to reshape our idea of what a meal is.
Yeah.
Because when you think every 3 to 4 hours, it used to be we may eat, some of us may have only ate one meal a day. Not saying that's the best way to do it, but anyway, they may have only eaten one, or at the most, you may have had a breakfast, lunch, and dinner with maybe some few mini snacks. And then when we talk about, eating every 3 to 4 hours, you've got to think about it's not that big meal like you had before. So to me, that does make it a little bit more simple. So let's actually kind of look at, you kind of brought up, Elaine, what that looks like. So let's look at like, what is a day-to-day meals look like for you guys?
For me, I start out with like almost the same thing, almost every single
Mhm.
day,
Yeah.
because it takes that cognitive load off. And because of autoimmune disease and Hashimoto's, mornings are hard. I'm very slow in the morning. So if I don't have to think about what am I going to put together
Yeah.
for a meal, it's so much easier. So I do a shake with an added fat and a protein drink with an added fat and an added carb. And
Mhm.
then 3
Mhm.
hours later, I might do like hard-boiled eggs or scrambled eggs, depending if I have hard-boiled eggs made, and fruit. And then that's just like really easy. It gets me into my day. And then when I'm a little bit more awake, I can think more about meals. And then most nights, our meals are super simple. I might, cook a nice thing once or twice a week. And when I do, I cook like for 6 people so that we can just package it up and have it for other meals.
Yes,
And that's a really nice little hack for
it
when we do
is.
cook. But most nights it's meat that I throw in the air fryer with some seasoning and vegetables that are either like pre-cut in the, that I microwave in the bag or saute or stir fry on the stove. And then sometimes we'll have like, frozen brown rice or something if we need a dense carb, and we'll throw that in the microwave. And usually I can get dinner done in 10 or 15 minutes. Doing it that way keeps me doing it, right? Because it's
That's
just
key.
easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so key. Because if we don't keep doing it, then, it's not a lifestyle.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that Tom and I do is that weekly we will take chicken breast, and we will cook like 7 or 8 chicken breasts in the crock pot and make shredded chicken. And then in the idea of like just assembling meals, we use that for stir fry, cauliflower fried rice. We use it for chicken tacos. We use it for salads with chicken with like a yummy vinaigrette. And so it's so incredibly versatile. And then it's just a no-brainer. It's like, okay, we know we're starting with protein, which is something that we teach, be protein forward. And then what am I going to pair with it? Well, it kind of depends on what we're in the mood for. If we are in the mood for salsa, maybe we have tacos, or something like that. But that's a really low lift thing that we've found really works well for us. And it's what I coach my clients to do. And they've found a lot of success. They've also found, oh, I didn't make my crock pot of chicken this week, and I really felt it. And so they're like, that's my 1% is making sure that crock pot of chicken gets done every week. And I just think it's a really nice way to lessen the cognitive load.
And here's the thing, it doesn't take more time to cook 8 chicken breasts than it does to cook 1 or 2.
Right.
No,
right. Especially in the crock pot.
Yes.
So when I do cook meat, I usually do cook extra servings, as much as we'll sit on the pan, because then we have them for salads and taco bowls and burrito bowls and all that stuff.
Yeah. One of the things I found too, though, is I felt like for a little bit pressured to eat all of that, that I now need to eat all of this chicken. But what I found is, again, like I said earlier, my husband and I eat completely different, is I will keep 3 or 4, maybe 5 servings out, and I'll freeze the rest of it. And then I've got it for next week. Or if I'm just so tired of chicken, maybe I'll cook something else. So that way I don't have to have chicken all the time. So, there's all these little things. And then it's great because I don't have to cook them. Don't necessarily have to cook up all those chicken breasts, because I love my shredded chicken. So I love that idea, Amber. And I usually just put it in single serve baggies of some kind, freezer bags. And then I can pull out 3 or 4 servings for the next week. So I even do that with my deli meat sometimes, because sometimes it's like, okay, I've had enough turkey deli meat, and I will do the same thing. I'll take a small amount out after I go to the grocery store, and then I'll freeze the rest of it so that I have it for later. So
really good idea.
Love
yeah,
that.
those are awesome. So so let's talk a little bit about shortcuts and support. So I know I have some shortcuts. And this is where I've learned or leaned into how to making things a little bit easier. I use a service called Dished. I told you earlier that my daughter-in-law has a local company, a meal prep company. I also know how she cooks her stuff. I also know she makes all of her own sauces. She uses all the fresh ingredients. So that's one thing you can look at. A lot of places have small businesses that do meal prep. So I do watch the portion sizes. The portion sizes, usually if I get one of those meals, it's 2 meals for me. So even the salads, because of the chicken or whatever that might be on it, that's 2 salads for me. That's 2 lunches or, lunchtime meals for me. So like I said, I know it goes into her food prep. So when you go look for something like that, be aware of what they're doing. Be aware of the type of ingredients that they use. And watch some of those things that are to ship across the country, okay? You don't know how long they've been made. Those are typically going to have more preservatives in it. So support local. Look for a food prep that's in your area. I know the way that Dish does it is I order, her menu comes out on Fridays. I have until Tuesday afternoon to order, and I pick it up the following Sunday or Monday. Usually I pick it up on Sunday. So then I have enough. I usually buy about 4 items, which gets me almost 8 meals for the week. So that helps me tremendously and has been a huge support. When she takes a week off, they close out during holidays and stuff. I really miss it. So, I've come to rely on that. But again, please be careful. Watch your ingredients list and ask the questions. How do you make your meals? How do you prep your meals? So.
Well, and I think that's a great example of using what is local and available to you. Because especially after you've vetted their cooking process, chances are they are, using organic produce, local produce, especially during the summer from farmers markets. You can really get some great things, and you don't have to marry a chef to get it, which I love. I mean, I did marry a chef, but he doesn't always like to cook. And so I love that idea. And then, there's even things that COVID brought us, like grocery pickup. COVID is over.
Ever.
I still get my groceries picked up.
Right.
Not gonna lie, ADHD in me gives me road rage when I'm walking behind people in the grocery store and I've already checked out and left the grocery store in my brain. So that's one of the reasons, but it's also like I schedule it. I know it's happening there and I go pick it up. The grocery store has also realized that people don't like cutting fruits and veggies. And so they have pre-cut fruits and veggies. There's even packs that are like the stir fry pack, the pot roast pack. And you're like, dude, I just have to decide what I'm going to eat and it's already ready already. So I do love that.
Some people say that's more expensive, but when we're stretching out meals the way we are, one pack like that, for one, it may be more expensive, but the time that it saves you is totally worth it. Yes. But 2, it feeds you more than just one meal. So you have to remember that when you're looking at that. The other good thing, I love to go to Trader Joe's because they have like pre-cooked chicken or pre-cooked, meats and stuff like that. And so we always grab those, or even frozen pre-cooked chicken so that you can just, defrost it and throw it in a salad. So those options are good. We also like Kevin's meals, and this is not really an endorsement or anything, but Kevin's meals, they do.
You don't work for Kevin.
No, I don't. but we do like them because they're sous vide meats and they're pre-cooked. They're very clean. They're very PFC friendly. And generally all you have to do is add a vegetable. So last night we had some place to go at 6. And so I'm like, it's 5:00. I need to throw together something. So we had their Korean beef. And so I threw their Korean beef in with some broccoli, stir fried it all, and then just use half of the seasoning because I feel like it's a lot of sugar and stuff like that. But anyway, that's just my personal preference, but so easy to do. And I knew I was still fueling my body well. And then we like to use like bagged salads too. I don't always use all the dressing or all the things that come in it. I'll use like a tablespoon of the dressing, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's my fat,
Yeah.
So that saves a lot of time. Or when I do make a salad, I'll chop extra. So then I can just, throw together salads easy during the week.
Yeah. And also don't forget about your CSAs that are out there and your local farmers markets. Those are things that you can visit. I know I have one that it's just maybe about 5 miles down the road from me. And right now he's got fresh strawberries. So, I'm really looking forward to going down there and getting it. And he grows them himself. He is as organic as he can be, just because of the things that are around him. So very conscientious about how he grows his stuff. And I can tell you, I never thought lettuce could taste so wonderful until I ate his lettuce. I don't even buy lettuce from the stores anymore. I get it down from my local farmer. So, and you brought up the idea, Elaine, that maybe it's more expensive, but in the long run, I feel like I'm eating cleaner and my body's going to benefit as well as my health. So in the long run, I feel like I'm actually saving myself money.
Right, right.
Well, and you
And
bring
eating
up a
this
really oh, I'm so sorry, Elaine.
I was just gonna say eating this way, I find that the less food goes to waste because I
Yeah,
am actually eating the carbs that are in my fridge.
exactly.
Right?
The
They're like, "Oh, this is gonna
vegetables.
go bad. We're having this today."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and I think cost is not only money. I
right.
mean, if
Mhm.
you think that, I mean, if you think about it, you are trading time for money. And if you don't have a lot of time,
Yes.
is it worth it to spend financially a little bit more so that you can breathe easier? Because if you are not breathing easier because you are uber stressed out, is that really worth saving a few cents?
Yeah,
I think that's where we need to pay attention to our mindset and how we're actually feeling.
Yeah, no,
totally.
definitely,
Yeah,
100%.
totally agree. Which kind of takes us into those different seasons of life.
Yeah.
So when we look at those, depending on what season you're in, when
Mhm.
my boys were at home, I did cook every night, like I mentioned earlier, and we had our dinner time together. We had it at least 6 nights a week. We would take one night and go out for pizza or Mexican or whatever. But once they left for college, I didn't want to cook one meal for me and one for my husband.
Right.
So anyway, I do cook about, once a week we usually have where we're eating the same thing. We still eat together, but we make our own meals. So, but because we eat so differently, and because I'm going to call it semi-retired, my husband is still working full time. We're at kind of different seasons. We may be the same age, but we're at different seasons. When you have a family at home, you're at a different season than what I might be. But these are all things that translate that you can do when you're in the seasons. You can still freeze things, cook the chicken breasts in the crock pot, get those bag salads. Sheet pan meals are
Mhm.
some really great ways
Mhm.
to do a quick dinner. I've recently came upon freezer meals where basically you take everything, the meats, they're not cooked. You don't cook them ahead of time. You put all the meats, the sauces, the spices in there, and you freeze it. And then
Mhm.
you pull it out and put it in your crock pot or in the oven. And they have actually, I can make like 6 freezer meals, excuse me. And that includes cutting up the chickens, the meats in like an hour. And I've got 6 meals ready to go into the freezer.
Mhm.
So that's really been a lifesaver for me. So what do you guys think? I don't, any kind of other suggestions around those
Yeah,
seasons of life?
I think you just need to figure out what works for you because even like if you're home cooking for your family, as your kids age, they start getting busy and you're doing sports and music and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
and not everybody is eating at the same time or whatever. So you really have to figure out what's going to work for you.
Mhm.
And when
Yeah.
you know that cheese and crackers is not a complete meal, you need to figure out, how to get these puzzle pieces so that you have what we call grab and goes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you have all these little puzzle pieces that you may or may not have to cook, and you put them together, and there you go. It's a meal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
One thing that we coach are systems, right?
Yes.
And so developing a system for meals, um, and what we coach is that it needs to work on your worst day.
Right.
Here's why I bring that up. If you have a system for meals that works in your most busy, most stressful season of life, if you continue that system during your more free times of life,
Yeah.
think about how much time you just got back. Maybe you could start a new hobby,
Mm.
or something like that. But if you've already prepared, I hate to say preparing for the worst, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
If
It
you've
is.
already made allowance for when things aren't going to work and things are going to blow up, then when they're not, think about how much more ease that brings you.
I love
It
that.
does. It does. And that brings in grace over perfection. All right.
Mm.
We're glucose, grit, and grace. We have to have some grit to go through those harder times for us, but we also need to give ourselves grace. And
Mhm.
this is where it all comes together.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the end of the day, It is about giving yourself permission. You don't have to prove anything by cooking. I'm guessing that your family is going to love you regardless. And your husband probably knew, or your wife, whomever is listening, that when they got into the relationship, you were not the chef du jour. And so putting that pressure on yourself is just a lot of extra stress your mindset doesn't need. And so give yourself permission, and then just know that you don't have to spend hours in the kitchen to be healthy. You just need to eat regularly, include proteins, fats, and carbs, and take care of your body in a way that fits your life, which includes showing your love to your family through the interactions and the things that you get to do with them, not just the food that you put in front of them. And that really is you being enough.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was very well said, Amber. A lot of times, because I know I felt the guilt and I didn't give myself grace. Oh, I'm a terrible mom. I'm a terrible wife. And I don't know how many times I said to my husband, you deserve a better wife than what you have, because I'm not a wife. But, he married me for what I am. He's like, I don't care. So I cared more about it. I put my worth on it. So you've got to give yourself grace for that.
Yeah.
So if you're carrying guilt because you don't love cooking, you can let it go.
Yes.
You're not doing anything wrong. You're just finding a way to make this work for your life. And that's what really matters. So in the description of this episode, you'll find some recipes and suggestions for some easy meals. If you know someone who's feeling guilty about not liking the entire cooking process like I do, be sure to share and tell them about this episode and let them know it is okay.
Yes.
We have other qualities that make us awesome. So until next week, stay great and take care of yourself. Bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye.